My name is Craig, and today we're going to be talking about how to change the world by reading to little kids. So first off, we're going to start off by doing a little bit of information, like let's say let's say your kids have trouble with reading. You want to read to them because by the time when they get to at least 4th grade, it'll get harder for them to learn how to read by the time they grow up. A really scary thought is if you don't learn to read, you'll probably end up being homeless because you need money to live. And in order to get money, you need to have a job. So let's say you don't know how to read and you have to fill out some applications. You would have to learn how to read those applications and be able to write back to them. And then some of the information I'm going to be talking about is how you can fix your child's reading problems. When I was a kid, I was always read to when I was a child, or when I was a kid. And I always was read to like books that I actually liked, not books that my parents picked for me. Like I'm still into Titanic, so I read Titanic books. And I'll read like little Dr. Seuss books every now and then when I was a kid. And I've learned to be a very good reader. And the way that I'm going to be helping is in school, there's a thing that we're doing called an action plan. And I'm basically reading to little kids in another class. And I'm helping them learn to read because when they give birth to another generation and they read to them, the next generation, then that generation will read to the next generation that they give birth to. And then so on and so forth. And the way that we're going to be doing this is, even out of school, I'm going to be reading to little kids at probably like a local library. And I'm going to ask what they're like into and what they're going to be doing, like what books they like, and basically that's how I'm going to be doing it. Well, normally, some parents will read to their kids, but what most of them don't do is they just read and not, like, if the kid will ask, like, what does that word mean? And then you would answer. But normally, you wouldn't have them read, but on occasion, you can have them read once they get better at reading. And the way that you can get them better at reading is, first, read to them by yourself, and just go on and on. Just read to them the book that you're reading, and then you could probably sometimes swap out which books you want to read, as in taking turns reading. And the way we're going to be doing this is using repeated reading, sorry. And what guided repeated reading is, let's say they have trouble on this one word when they're reading. You read to them that word over and over again until they get it. Like my idea for reading to them it over and over again until they get the word is do it at least 4 times and have them say it a couple times. And then and if they struggle while I'm reading to them, I will assess their parents into knowing that they might want to get that looked at. What a common problem with kids is, it's called dyslexia, which is a reading disorder. And with early reading to your kids, that can be prevented, which is very good. Like, let's say they have trouble, and you want to read to them even while they're a baby, even though they don't really know what you're saying, because while you want to be able to have them know some of the words that you read to them, like as you're reading to them while they're a little baby. And then when they grow up, you'll still want to read to them. That's what my parents have done to me, even when I was a kid. And basically, when you do that, they learn to read. And then a very scary thought also is, you want to start reading to them, like I said, when they're a kid, and when they get to age like 6 and 5 and 4. And then by then, once they get to at least, when they get into like 1st grade to 2nd and 3rd, you want to have them to be as good as a reader as you can by the end of 3rd grade. Because once they go into 4th grade, there's a lower possibility of them being able to read as they grow up. And roughly 85% of all children have been diagnosed with reading problems, which is dyslexia. And then, normally, once I read to them, they should be able to acknowledge what I'm saying to them. Like while they're a kid, they may not even know what you're talking about, but when you're reading to them while they're a kid, they'll learn those words later on. And then while you do that, every day that when they're like 6 years old, they'll learn to talk even more and more. And then the way that I'm going to be helping the world and how this topic affects the world is, like I said earlier on, that every generation would learn how to read. And then eventually, let's say a few of them travel to live somewhere else in another part of the world, and they learn to speak that other language, and they could teach the kids that they have in some other part of the world how to read. And basically, how they would do this is, let's say they move, and then they learn how to speak the language the country language that they go into. Let's say they go into Korea and they learn Korean language, and then they would read to the kids that in probably like a local library, and basically you will learn how to read from that. And what I did at school was, like I said, I read to them, right? And then when they grow up, hopefully they'll be able to get better at reading like I am now. And the reason I chose this is, since I was always read to, and I've grown up to kind of like reading, I wanted to teach other kids how to read. And when I did that, I always loved to read to little kids. And in school, I would read to little kindergartners. They would be my reading buddies. And then even when I go to libraries, I'll be reading to little kids more. And basically what I did with school was, I went into two separate classes. In one of the classes, I read to two people. My partner, Miguel, he read to one person, I read to another person. And that was in one class. Then in the other class, I read to three, we each read to two people each. And what we did was, we read to them, right? And we would ask them, we would just read to them a little bit, and then we would have them read a couple pages, and we would read a couple pages. And what's very good is, when one of the first classes I read to, before, almost as soon as school started, I taught this kid how to read. It was a girl, and her name was Amaris, and then she moved into another class that I read to later on, which was a little while ago. And then she was phenomenal at reading. She was very good. She pretty much had no error. I had to correct her at least twice. And that was pretty much it. And I read to her, it took her barely a few minutes to finish it. And with dyslexia, most kids don't even know how to read, because that's what their problem is. They don't know how to read. And sometimes, when you grow up, your parents don't have enough money sometimes to buy books for you to read. And then, but I grew up with a bunch of books, some from my brother, and I always read. And basically, she went on and on. She was non-stop reading. Like I said, I only had to correct her twice, which is very good. And most of the other kids, which is very sad, they didn't even really know how to read. They would say the same thing, trying to sound it out apple. And after a few times sounding it out, they would get it. But with the help of me and Miguel, we can help change the world by, when we grow up, we'll be reading to other kids, right? And then once our wives give birth to others, we'll teach them how to read. And we'll just go on and on reading.
Cool.
And hopefully when we do this, we can help change the world. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again. I hope to hear you guys in the comments and let's see how many likes we can get to. Let's say to at least 100 or 50. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching, and bye.